playoffs 1 week away from the finals. Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Ohio State is a team that looks a lot like that Georgia 22 team. This Georgia team should have looked like that, but it just doesn't. We'll talk more about that later, Roger. Have you heard anything about any coaches being reassigned, changed, or moved? Because, quite frankly, this Georgia team is not going anywhere with that coaching staff. Well, no, I haven't heard a thing about any coach being changed. Kirby Smart is stubborn to a fault and to a point somewhat arrogant, which is what stubbornness is when you have power. Anybody that's willing to pay whatever is required of them to acquire season tickets for next year, put that money to a better cause. Because Georgia has got a year probably worse than the one it just had, and probably for several years, because if Bobo stays around, all you gotta do is go back and look how it happened the first time, and we're going right back to that. We're back in 2010 again. Stacy Sorrells was the line coach then, and we never had a good line, even though we recruited good players.
Sorry ass DJ.
We never had a good line the whole time he was here, and we haven't had one since he came back. Last year they did okay. This year they didn't. Sorrells isn't going anywhere either. At least they haven't yet. So Georgia, on the offensive side, may actually go downhill, understanding that they went from 40 points a game to 31 points a game. And that's not enough to wake up Kirby Smart. He lost 3 games because he couldn't get any more than 10 points. You know, how many times can you win a game when you score 10 points? Never. I guess you could. I'm certainly not going to be counting on winning a game if we can only get 10 points. And it ain't even about ability. We've described what the real problem is with Bobo. Nobody wants to believe it, but it's not going to change. And if Kirby Smart doesn't have the intelligence to see that, then maybe he shouldn't be the head coach. He's done a lot. Who wants to see the carnage that's ahead? I don't even really want to talk about it, Roger. Georgia's irrelevant until further notice, until they get rid of this Mike Bobo #1 and several other coaches. See, Ryan Day was in a similar boat when he lost to Michigan and struggled many games this year. You know, struggle wins. And it seemed like the powers that be came down and changed his mind on some things, or maybe he did it himself. And Georgia needs to have that moment with Kirby, but it doesn't seem like that's in the cards because Kirby can do no wrong. But that was only true when he wasn't losing games.
As I said, it's not an interesting subject. To see how a school can take the position George was in and just throw it away.
And still expect fans to respond. That is arrogance to the nth degree. We did some research on Sorrells. He's a good recruiter, sort of. And it seems like that's what he's almost like he's just stuck on two things, recruiting and getting that defense right. And the rest of it don't matter. But it does matter. We watched a Penn State team dazzle with amazing play calls and keep things moving, but they almost won. Georgia, play calling, a 3-year-old could figure it out. Now, you're not going to be able to win in a competitive world with that kind of nonsense. And if they can't get that fixed, it should have been fixed. It should have been fixed a long time ago. So Kirby doesn't want to win, or he's stupid and thinks he still will. What's it going to take? It took forever to get Mark Richt. Well, he never came around. He kept Bobo to the end, or maybe 1 year. But that's where we're headed, and that's where it's going to be. And you can waste your money on all the talent you want. It's not going to do an ounce of good. It's really sad because Georgia was on top of the world. Now we have to watch Ohio State be on top of the world. Remember when we beat Ohio State, got a break and won a game because they missed that field goal and we won a title next week? That was a big moment for Georgia. We won a big game, beat Ohio State, but what that indicator was at that moment in 2022, Georgia and Ohio State were pretty much the two best teams in the country. You really couldn't argue that. And it may have been true last year, but ironically, neither made the playoffs. And now, Georgia comes up and they shoot themselves in the foot all year, refusing to adopt a modern offense, when they certainly had the ability to do so. But Ohio State was trying to do that, but they came around, and they're doing what we could be doing. So if you like the Todd Monken 22 team, I guess you're just going to have to cheer for Ohio State from now on, because Georgia, that's not going to happen. So we're not going to wait for Georgia to come around and see what perfection was. They watched it firsthand for 2 years with Todd Monken, but for some reason, they don't want to do that anymore, and it looks like it's not going to change. Kirby Smart, loyal to his coaches, but he's not loyal to the fans because it doesn't matter about winning anymore. So, Roger, we did want to talk about the offensive line, but it's going to have to be revamped. They're going to have to bring at least 4 offensive line, not necessarily the line, but the front 7 is going to have some changes. Personnel could be coming from the transfer portal, and it could be a rocky offensive line for a while. Something Mike Bobo seems to have as a trait, seems to come with the territory. Not sure why that is. But let's talk about Ohio State for a moment. They're on the cusp of winning a national title. All they have to do is get by Notre Dame, who is a Cinderella, I suppose, because they really shouldn't be here. They're not prolific offense. Their defense is stout. It's not the kind of defense that we've seen in the past that terrorizes offenses. Um, what do you think is going to happen in that Ohio State Notre Dame game, Roger? Any thoughts? I think they're going to do well. I think it might be a nip and tuck for about a half. I think Ohio State will do what they did to Tennessee, what they did to Oregon, and better than what they did against Texas. Texas gave them a really good football game, except they didn't really understand that you got to score to win a game. Texas self-destructed, shot themselves in the foot, and Steve Sarkisian is not the offensive genius that I never thought, but some think he is. He must have forgotten, thought he was still coaching for the Falcons because his play calling on that 4th and 1 or 1st and goal looked eerily similar to some of the stuff he did with the Falcons. No, thank you. You can have Steve Sarkisian. And I hope we're not out trying to get that quarterback he's got. Either one of them. Georgia has the talent to win, even no matter how it falls down. Their coaches are going to hold them back. And believe me, that can definitely hold a team back. But Ohio State, having turned the page and decided to be the modern offense that they're capable of, I think this game, if it was just a football game, would be a roll. Ohio State should roll over Notre Dame. Now, I know the game won't go that way because it's a championship game. It's a television event, and there'll be all kind of official BS going on in that game. Anything could happen, but Ohio State should claim a national title, and I think they deserve it. I said all off season, all summer, they had the best roster. They still do.
And so if they win, I guess this college football season will be considered a success because the best team did in fact win.
And that's what we're hoping for. So I'm going to say Ohio State should win it. Roger, you got anything? I agree with you 100% that Ohio State should win the game. I believe they will win it fairly handily. Like you, because they simply have more weapons. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to pass freely and have explosive plays, even when that Notre Dame defense has been stout. Georgia didn't challenge them, but I think Ohio State will win this game. I see Ohio State, they could get into the 40s in this thing, and Notre Dame cannot. So that's how they need to win. The old ESPN slogan, they're just going to have to outscore them, Roger, which is the only way to win. But yes, Ohio State will win, and we're not upset about that. The Big Ten, SEC battles, that's old school. The conferences don't matter anymore. They soon won't, because it's all about teams. And so when Ohio State wins, I don't want to hear the Big Ten is that. I don't hear it. Ohio State has been building a good football team well before they lost to Georgia 2 years ago. They should have been in the playoffs last year, and they would have won it. So, yeah, Ohio State's a team to beat, and I don't think anybody's going to beat them. And let's just go ahead and celebrate early, Roger. Here's to Ohio State, and I think you deserve it. That's all I got, Roger. I'm a little too upset to talk right now. People don't want to hear what I'm thinking about Kirby Smart. It's really a disgrace, and if these Georgia fans want to pay for that and support that, they're just going to be disappointed. And I really hate that. Well, that's all I can think of as well, Roger. I am saddened. I am saddened by Georgia's demise, and it will most likely get worse. But we can all hope that things will always get better, and certainly we hope they do for all of you. Until we meet again, ta-ta.